Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, and this week we are studying Lech Lecha. Get up and go out for yourself is a loose translation. It begins in Bereshit chapter 12, verse 1, but as usual with my preferred method of teaching, we're going to go back a few verses into chapter 11, and let's look at verse 26 that says, And Terach lived 70 years and brought forth Avram, Nahor, and Haran. The last verse, in verse 32, it says, And the days of Terach came to be 205 years, and Terach died in Haran. So 205 subtract 70 gives us 135 years. The reason that this is important to us is in chapter 12, verse 4, And Avram left as Yahweh had commanded him, and Lot went with him. And Avram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. 75. So that suggests to us then that Terach did not die before Avram left Haran, but rather Terach lived another 60 years after Avram left him. Now, why is that important? If we think about this beyond the Hebraic superhero model of Avram, and think about him as just a man. He's a Mesopotamian man in culture, in language, in breeding, and understanding, worldview. He does not have a Hebraic, Torah-minded worldview and perspective at this point. This is something that he is about to learn. So everything that he knows about himself, about his lineage, about his customs, his manner of dress, his diet, everything about him was learned from his father in Ur the Chaldees and a Mesopotamian culture. And now Yah is saying to him, come out from among all of that and learn to become a completely different person. Now, according to the Midrash, you believe it, you don't believe it, it's an interesting perspective. It's an interesting storyline. I won't validate it enough to say it's absolute fact. We can argue that back and forth, but it's interesting. The Midrash says that Avram smashed his father's idols. Evidently, according to the Midrash, Terach was an idol maker who also served the king, King Nimrod. For doing this an abominable thing of smashing idols, Avram was brought before Nimrod, put to a test of a burning furnace, which he survived. It is said in the Midrash that his brother Haran also was cast into the furnace, and he did not survive. Terach, the word says here that he brought forth, that is, he seized his son and he carried them. The word is took, va-yichak, to carry along, to seize, and to lay hold of. And so it says that that he took, in verse 31, Avram, his grandson Lot, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, and he brought them to Haran. Somehow they got stuck there, or at least Terach did. He got stuck. He never ventured any further. Now there's a righteous reason for that. We understand that Avram was called to leave his family and his previous understanding and perspective and come and walk with Elohim. Avram didn't get stuck, but his father did. Why Haran? Why settle down there? The name Haran means a place dried up, burnt, and parched. Doesn't sound very inviting. Doesn't sound like a great place to be. What's really interesting, and I'm not making a doctrine here, is just looking at the letters and their symbolism. Haran is a chet, a resh, and a final noon. A chet looks like a fence. Its meaning is to divide or to separate. The resh is the back of the head, or it refers to someone who is chief or a supreme being, a head, a leader being. And then the noon is a picture of a fish, its activity or its life. So the letters together could suggest a thought of being separated or divided from the head one's life or activity. It doesn't sound like a place that I want to be. But they got stuck there, at least for a period of time. In a place of being stuck, Avram was called, get out of there. Lech Lecha, get up and move away from the place that says you're dried up and you're parched, separated from the life of the chief one or from the father. We've all found ourselves at various points in life stuck. It's hard to move forward when you feel like I'm afraid to leave where I'm at. As much as I'm frustrated with where I am, I don't trust what's in front of me. It's a dangerous thought at times, to see ourselves safe and secure with the known, and the known only. There is this great unknown that is in front of us, that's what we're literally being called to. And this past Torah portion, Noach, I was teaching on that, and I made a statement along the lines of a vision by necessity is greater than your current reality. Let's explore that a little bit with Avram in mind. He's been in a dangerous situation, again, according to the Midrash. We'll go with that line of thought for a moment. He's in a more secure place. His father is with him. His previous lineage is with him. His identity that he has up until this point is with him. His wife is there. There's a certain sense of compatibility and familiarity. But there's this longing and gnawing on the inside of him that you and I, at least I know I did, and probably you did, had when we were in a previous system and we were asking the question, is this all that there is? And we chose to hear the voice say to us, Lech Lecha, you also get up from where it is that you are. This dried up, parched, burnt area that is separating you from the head one's life and activity. And come out and trust me. It's not easy to leave the status quo when that's all that you've ever known. But to hear his voice and to receive a vision from the Most High requires that you and I learn to expand, to walk in an unknown territory, to leave that which is familiar and embrace that which is unfamiliar. Our family, our friends, they told us before, it's risky. Why are you doing this? Why would you leave all that you already know for something brand new? How do you know that this is right? I remember Laura asking that question. We had just left the pastorate. I had resigned my credentials. We started out on this path in August of 2002. And her question to me was, how do you know that this is right and that you won't be coming to me in just a few months or a year or so and saying, we made a mistake, there's something else that's right? How do you know? It's a good question. How do you know? This I know. Before I ever left the previous place, I had learned to trust a familiar voice. The voice I knew. The path was uncertain, it was unfamiliar. But the voice, I knew the voice, and I knew the one connected to the voice. And so do you. Trust the voice that is leading us, even now from where we are, our current status quo, to something that's greater. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. Until then, shalom.